My blood froze when I heard my daughter screaming. I dropped the phone mid-call with the mayor and bolted out the door. What I saw shattered something inside Mimi's 7-year-old daughter, Ava, dangling from the oak tree in our backyard. Her prosthetic legs hung awkwardly beneath her small frame as she cried, her body swaying from the rope tied tightly around her waist. Standing below her with arms crossed and a twisted smile was Meredith Clark, the HOA president of Brookhaven Trails. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, sprinting across the yard. "Teaching her a lesson," Meredith said coldly. "Those metal things on her legs are an eyesore. She's been sitting in your front yard for days, disrupting the aesthetic. You're violating Article 7 of the Covenant." Ava had only had those prosthetics for 6 months, lost both legs in the car crash that killed her mother. Meredith's words hit me like a punch to the chest. "Untie her. Now." "Not until you sign this," she said, holding out a typed agreement. "You keep her inside or in the backyard. She can't be the first thing people see on their morning walks. 3 residents have already complained." I glanced up at my daughter. Her hands were gripping the rope like it was part of some twisted playground game. I could see in her eyes that she didn't understand what was really happening. Meredith had tricked her, used her trust against her. My hands were shaking with fury, but I said nothing. "Not yet. Do you have any idea who I am?" I asked. "You're just another overwhelmed single father," Meredith snapped. "And I've been running this HOA for 15 years. Don't test me." I unhooked Ava carefully from the rope and held her against my chest. She sobbed into my shirt. I didn't tell Meredith my name. I didn't mention I was Ethan Ramsey, the newly appointed Assistant Commissioner of Housing Regulations for the state, with authority over every HOA in our jurisdiction. And I wanted her to find out the hard way. That night, Ava lay beside me in bed, tracing the scars where her legs ended and the prosthetics began. "Why does that lady hate my robot legs, Daddy?" she asked. "Mommy would have thought they were cool. She would have loved them," I said, kissing her forehead. "And they are cool. You're amazing, and that woman is just broken." After she fell asleep, I pulled out Meredith's file. I had already suspected her HOA of misconduct, but I'd chosen to move into Brookhaven to see it for myself. I never thought my own daughter would be the victim. By morning, I had a folder an inch thick: illegal fines, discrimination complaints, selective enforcement, financial irregularities. And now, child endangerment. 3 days later, Ava and I walked into the HOA meeting at the community center. The moment we entered, all eyes fell on Ava's decorated prosthetic legs. Meredith sneered. "This is an adults-only meeting," she said. "After our last discussion, I'd think you'd show some restraint about parading your daughter's condition." Gasps filled the room. An elderly woman covered her mouth in horror. I took a step forward. "I'm not just Ava's father. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Housing Regulations. And what I've uncovered in this HOA is grounds for immediate board suspension, criminal investigation, and possible dissolution." Meredith turned pale. I opened the folder and began listing violations: embezzlement, discriminatory enforcement, harassment of the elderly and disabled, and most recently child endangerment. "What child endangerment?" someone asked. 3 days ago," I said, "Meredith Clark tied my daughter to a tree and refused to let her down until I agreed to hide her from public view because her prosthetic legs made her uncomfortable." The room exploded. A man stood up and said, "My grandson has a prosthetic arm. Are you saying he wouldn't be welcome here?" Another woman shouted, "My mother's in a wheelchair. Is she next?" One by one, neighbors recounted their own horror stories: harassment over lawn colors, fines for wind chimes, forced sales of homes after cancer treatments left families unable to maintain landscaping. The truth flooded out like a dam breaking. Meredith tried to shout over them, but it was over. I announced the board was suspended pending full investigation. All fines were frozen. An interim committee would be formed to rewrite the bylaws with actual human decency. The investigation started the next morning. My team found that Meredith had funneled over $70,000 in HOA funds into personal expenses: vacations, spa memberships, and even a luxury SUV labeled HOA Transport. When police showed up at her door with a warrant, I stood beside them. She looked at me with wide, hateful eyes. "This is harassment," she screamed. "All because of that crippled little girl." "No," I said quietly. "Because you broke the law. Multiple laws." As she was led to the patrol car, neighbors emerged from their homes. Some clapped. Others simply watched in stunned silence. "You'll regret this," Meredith shrieked. "My daughter has better friends in higher places than you ever will," I said. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed for her sentencing. Ava insisted on attending. She told me she wanted to see the mean lady get in trouble. When the judge asked if anyone wished to make a statement, Ava raised her hand. "Your Honor," I said, my throat tight. "My daughter would like to speak." The judge nodded, and Ava walked forward on her prosthetic legs, each step echoing through the silent courtroom. "My name is Ava Ramsey," she began. "Mrs. Clark hung me from a tree because she didn't like my robot legs. She said I was ugly. My mommy used to tell me that being kind is what makes someone beautiful. Mrs. Clark isn't kind. She hurt me and other people because we were different. I forgive her because my daddy says holding on to anger just hurts you more. But I think people like her need to learn that being mean to kids is very, very wrong." Tears rolled down several jurors' faces. The judge sentenced Meredith to 5 years in prison for embezzlement, plus time for child endangerment and civil rights violations. She was banned from ever serving on any community board again. Afterward, Ava became a beacon of hope in our neighborhood. People who had once been afraid now smiled, planted flowers, and helped build a fully accessible playground in the park. Ava cut the ribbon at the grand opening herself, her robot legs flashing in the sun. An older woman approached us that day. "Mr. Ramsey," she said, "I'm Susan Clark, Meredith's sister. I just wanted to say thank you. She's finally getting help in prison. Therapy. Maybe she'll change." She turned to Ava. "Your legs are beautiful, sweetheart. They show how strong you are." Ava beamed. "They help me fly," she said proudly. Later, Ava tugged on my sleeve. "Is it okay to feel bad for the lady, even after everything?" "That's called compassion," I told her. "And it's the most powerful thing in the world." The oak tree in our yard now holds a treehouse, designed by a retired engineer neighbor to be fully accessible for Ava and all her friends. What once symbolized cruelty now represents transformation. Meredith Clark tried to erase my daughter's presence from this neighborhood. Instead, she made Ava its heart. And every time I watch her race through the yard, her prosthetic sparkling, I'm reminded that the smallest voices often spark the biggest change.